जयानिल प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जयानिल प्रेम धन जयानिल प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जयानिल ध्यान प्रभु कथा गाला आचार्य ठाकुर ध्यान प्रभु कथा गाला आचार्य ठाकुर कहा मोर स्वरूप रूप कहा सनातन कहा मोर कहा दासा रघु नाथा पतित पावन नाथा पतित पावन कहा मोर भट्ट जुग कहा कबीराज कहा मोर भट्ट जुग कहा कबीरा एक काले कथा गला गौर नटरा पासने कुटिब माथा आनाले पशिब पासने कुटिब माथा आनाले पशिब गौरांग गुणेरा निधि कथा गले पाब से सब संगीर संगे जे कोइल बिलास श्री संग ना पाइया कांदे नरोत्तम दास से संग ना पाइया kade narottamo dasa. Jaya Nila Prema Dano Karuna Pachu Jaya Nila Pyana Prabhu Kotha Gala Acharya Thakur Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur, Jaya Vaishnava Thakur.
Thank you, Ramapati Prabhu. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, or has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishna Das Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against a rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Thank you. So today is the disappearance day of Sri Ramanujacharya. So I'll read from the Samadhi's book. And it tells a few of his famous pastimes. Sri Ramanujacharya appeared in 1017 AD near Madras, South India, in a family of Vedic scholars. Sri Vaishnavas say he was an incarnation of Lakshman. The word Ramanuja means a follower of Ram. He received this name because Lakshman always follows and serves his brother, Lord Ramchandra. A boy of amazing wit, Ramanuja quickly learned Sanskrit, logic, and the Vedas. He took Diksha and married at age 16. Ramanuja studied with a Mayavadi guru, Yadava Prakash, to master Mayavadi philosophy and defeat it. When the brilliant Ramanuja kept refuting his Mayavadi arguments, Yadava Prakash tried to murder him. Unsuccessful, Yadava Prakash expelled Ramanuja from the ashram. Before leaving, Ramanuja completely defeated his guru's theory of oneness and no distinction. Ramanuja explained, while a certain unity can be seen in the inner relatedness of all things, still everything within the universe has its own distinct reality. Pearls strung on a thread share unity. Collectively, they form an organic whole, a necklace. Still, each individual pearl has its own unique qualities. While spirit, matter, and God may be seen as one organic whole, each has its unique qualities. Therefore, Sankara's principle of absolute oneness can't stand. Rather, the principle of unity characterized by different qualities must be accepted. Sometime later, Yadava Prakash met Kṛṣṇa, Ramanuja's student with a photographic memory. Quoting Shrutis, the best of Vedic proof, Kṛṣṇa convinced him that Brahman has transcendental form and qualities coming from the ultimate reality, the Supreme Absolute Truth known as Lord Narayan. Ramanuja initiated anyone regardless of caste. Using the Pancha Samskar purification method, he turned Shudras into Brahmanas. He established that the position of a Vaishnava surpasses all social limitations and considerations. Identifying himself as a servant, Ramanuja taught the worship of the Vaishnavas. Several times envious Brahmanas tried to poison Ramanuja. To teach detachment to one disciple, maybe you guys have heard of this pastime. To teach detachment to one disciple, Ramanuja staged the following demonstration. He told the disciple to create confusion among the sannyasis by switching their cloths at the bathing ghat. When the sannyasis, who were big scholars and renunciates, started wearing each other's clothes, a big argument began. The disciple could plainly see that the renunciates were attached to some cloth. Then Ramanuja sent the disciple to the home of his Grihastha disciple, Dhanur Das. Ramanuja engaged Dhanur Das in the temple to ensure he wouldn't be home. Following Ramanuja's order, the disciple began stealing jewelry from Dhanur Dasa's chaste wife, who was sleeping. After the disciple took the ornaments from one side of her body, she suddenly turned over. The startled disciple fled through the window, but he waited outside to witness the reaction of Dhanur Das. Upon returning home, Dhanur Das talked with his wife. "I'm worried that the temple needs money," said his wife. "What makes you think that?" asked Dhanur Das. "Because while I slept, one of the temple devotees came through the window and began stealing the jewelry from my body. To go that far, I think those poor saints must desperately need money. What did you do while he was stealing your jewelry?" "I turned over, but he fled through the window." "Why did you do that?" said Dhanur Das. "I didn't mean to scare him. I only turned over so that he could take the jewelry from the other side of my body as well." Dhanur Das rebuked his wife. "If you were not so affected by false ego, you would have given him all your jewels. Now, what shall we do? We have failed miserably." His wife lamented, "You're right. It is only my pride that kept me from surrendering everything. How will we ever make any advancement?" Watching all this, Ramanuja's disciple was astonished at the humility and surrender of these Grihastha devotees. Ramanuja explained the meaning of these two events, the sannyasi's clothes and the wife's jewels. The sannyasis were so attached to some ragged bits of cloth that they fought over it, but the Grihasthas were detached, even from costly jewels, if they were needed for their Lord's service. Ramanujacharya founded the Sri Sampradaya, one of the four major Vaishnava Sampradayas, Brahma, Shri, Kumara, and Rudra. This Sampradaya propounds the Vedanta philosophy of Visishta Advaita Vada, qualified monism. Gaudiya and Sri Vaishnava share many teachings and practices. The Gaudiyas took Ramanuja's explanation of God and the Jiva verbatim. The principle of God is like a blazing fire, while the living soul or the Jiva is like a spark, a small part of God. Both accept three classes of Jivas: eternally liberated, forever bound, freed by devotion and sadhana. Ramanuja taught serving God in Vaikuntha with awe and reverence in Dasya Ras, mood of master and servant. Gaudiya Vaishnavas teach confidential service in Madhurya Ras to Radha Madhava within the groves of Vrindavan. Ramanujacharya wrote many famous commentaries on the Upanishads, Puranas, Bhagavad-gītā. Sri Bhasya, his commentary on Vedanta, presents a formidable challenge to Sankaracharya's impersonal commentary. To this day, the Sri Vaishnava disciplic succession from Ramanuja continues to uphold the traditions of deity worship and philosophy symptomized by the founder. His samadhi is in Sri Ranga. Sri Ramanujacharya ki jai. So this will continue. This morning we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3, Text 7. Didrikshava yasya padam sumangalam vimukta sangha munaya susadva charanti alokavratam avranam vane bhutatma bhutaha suhṛdaṁ same gati tidrikshavo yasya padam sumangalam vimukta sangha munaya susadva charantya loka vritam avranam vane bhutatma bhuta suhṛdaṁ same gati tidrikshavo yasya padam sumangalam vimukta sangha munaya susadva charantya loka vritam avranam vane bhutatma bhuta suhṛdaṁ same gati tidrikshavo yasya padam sumangalam vimukta sangha munaya sudavaha charantya loka vritam avranam vane bhutatma bhuta suhṛdaṁ same gati Anyone else online or in the temple room? Anyone else? Okay. Tidrikshavaha, those who desire to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasya, of him. Padam, the lotus feet. Sumangalam, all auspicious. Vimukta Sangaha, persons who are completely disinfected of material conditions. Munayaha, great sages. Susadavaha, those who are highly elevated in spiritual consciousness. Charanti, practice. Aloka vratam, vows of brahmacharya, vanaprastha or sannyas. Avranam, without any fault. Vane, in the forest. Bhuta atma bhutaha, those who are equal to all living entities. Suhṛdaṁ, those who are friends to everyone. Saha, that same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Me, my. Gatihi, destination. Translation and purport by Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Renunciants and great sages who see all living beings equally, who are friendly to everyone, and who flawlessly practice in the forest the vows of brahmacharya, vanaprastha, and sannyas, desire to see the all-auspicious lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May that same Supreme Personality of Godhead be my destination. Purport. This verse describes the qualifications for devotees, or persons highly elevated in spiritual consciousness. Devotees are always equal to everyone, seeing no distinction between lower and higher classes. Pandita samadarshana. They look upon everyone as a spirit soul, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Thus they are competent to search for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Understanding that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a friend of everyone, suhṛdaṁ sarva-bhūtānām, they act as friends of everyone on behalf of the Supreme Lord, making no distinction between one nation and another, or one community and another. They preach Krishna consciousness, the teachings of Bhagavad-gītā, everywhere. Thus they are competent to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Such preachers in Krishna consciousness are called paramahaṁsas. As indicated by the word vimukta sangha, they have nothing to do with material conditions. One must take shelter of such a devotee in order to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusutta Devi Pranamami Hare Pre Vancha Kalpatri Bishcha Kripasandibhyevacha Patithanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the purport, it mentioned the qualities of the devotees. They're equal to everyone. They see with an equal vision, whether they're higher or lower classes. Pandita samadarshana. So this is the proper vision that we should see the world, as well as other devotees. When I first started distributing books, I can tell that the person behind the book table, the way he presents himself, his behavior, it has a lot to do with the interaction of the people. You know. For example, I don't want to embarrass Balaram Prabhu, but I'll use him as an example. He was telling us that he was distributing books at Plaza Bonita. You know, Plaza Bonita Mall. And someone told him, you should smile more. So, and you know, we're behind the book table and we're sharing books on yoga, meditation, inner happiness, inner peace. But then the devotee behind the table looks miserable, you know. So there's something wrong with this picture. And, you know, everyone's an individual. Everyone has their own ways of distributing books. But we should take this as a wonderful instruction that people, they want to see the results. And when they see the devotees, they want to see a bright face, you know, smiling devotee. Not someone that looks, you know, morose, you know, like there's something agitating or bothering their mind. And there's a saying that people don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And I remember when I first started doing book distribution, there was a man, he came to my table and he said, "Can I take a picture of you?" And I said, "Why do you want to take a picture of me?" He said, "You know, I've been walking around the Balboa Park and I feel that you're the only one that's peaceful. You're just here reading your book, you're smiling, you're waving at everyone. I would like to take a picture of you." And I said, "On one condition, you have to take a book," you know. So he smiled, and I was sharing with him a few of these books. And he was very thankful. And then he said, "You know, I just came out of the Muslim and Christian tents, and they're about to have war right now. They're arguing with one another, you know, they're pointing fingers, they're shouting at each other." And then he said, "Little children are passing by and they're watching this." So he said, "I'm very discouraged by this. I don't want anything to do with this type of faith." So I showed him a verse from the Bhagavad-gītā, the same verse, how one sees with equal vision a brahmana, a cow eater, an elephant with equal vision, meaning they see the soul within the body. Actually, that's one of the first things that attracted me to Krishna consciousness. When I used to go to this Christian Baptist church, I was the only dark-skinned brown person there. And everyone were, you know, Westerners, and I just felt out of place. When I came here, I saw Kanai, I saw Ramapati, Dharmasetu, everyone, you know. And I remember hearing, you know, this is the real United Nations. And I was thinking, wow, this is it, you know. So the devotees, we look past the body and we see the soul. And the soul is eternally part and parcel of Krishna. On this subject, I was at Balboa Park again, and some lady walked past my table, and she said, "I trust you with these books." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You look so peaceful." He said, "I've seen other people, and all I know is that they just want my money." He said, "But you're just here smiling, you know, waving at me." So I said, "Do you like to read?" And she said, "I love to read." So it turns out that she was actually a teacher. And I said, "You know, as a teacher, you should read these books. They will help you to understand behaviors, you know, from your students as well as yourself." And I showed her the chapter of the 3 material modes of nature. And she was very, very impressed by it. And I told her that this Bhagavad-gītā is considered to be the deepest understanding of the human psychology. And she said, I can see that. So she took books, and then she went on her way. Someone once said that our behaviors can create a legacy of devotees or a legacy of atheists. You know. So it's very important how we treat each other, how devotees treat each other also. There was this one Mataji, her name is Jadurani Dasi. Jadurani? Yeah. She said when she first started coming to the temple, one devotee gave her a chapati. And then she began eating it. And then she said she noticed 2 other devotees next to her, and she overheard their conversation. They were talking, you know, with themselves, between themselves. And they said that the Swami, Srila Prabhupada, he said, when devotees argue, it should be taken like clouds passing, and we don't notice it, meaning it's insignificant. And Jadurani Mataji, she was very amazed by this statement, So in this world, we can see there's arguing, there's confrontation, there's war. And actually in war, no one really wins. That's why Yudhishthira Maharaj, Arjuna, they were against fighting in the war. But Srila Prabhupada said violence is needed when good arguments fail. And after the battle of Kurukshetra, maybe many of you don't know, all the Kurus, and including the ladies with the blind king and Sanjaya, they were going to the Ganges, the river Ganges, to perform the final funeral rites. And when Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he saw Dhritarashtra, he bowed his head. And since he was blind, he and his brothers would introduce themselves, and then they would bow down. And when Bhima's turn came, when he heard the name Bhima, he was enraged, but he held it inside. And Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knew everything. So he knew the mind and the intention of Dhritarashtra. So he tapped Bhima on the shoulder and said, wait. And by Krishna's mystic power, he manifested this iron statue of Bhima. And they pushed it towards Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra, it said that he had the strength of 30,000 elephants. So he hugged this iron statue and he squeezed it, and eventually it broke into pieces. And so by anger, he also hurt himself. It's described that his chest was bleeding, his chest was bruised. So, and then he said, what have I done, out of anger like that. But Krishna said, it's okay, king. I knew your intention, so I got this iron statue of Bhima. And then Krishna told him, take your anger away from the Pandavas. They're innocent. And it's actually due to your sinful son, Duryodhana, that this war was started. Yeah. Actually, it's interesting how Bhima killed Duryodhana. Duryodhana was asked by Gandhari to come see him in the middle of the night. And she told him, come to my tent completely naked. And due to her severe austerities, or, she blindfolded herself. She had mystic powers. And she had planned to turn Duryodhana's body into complete, like iron, so he was invincible. And Krishna knew this, so Krishna intervened. Krishna told Duryodhana, where are you going? He said, I'm going to see my mother. And Krishna said, why are you naked? This is wrong. You shouldn't come before your mother naked. He said, cover yourself. So he covered his waist only, And when he entered the tent, Gandhari lifted her blindfold, and with her mystic powers turned all of Duryodhana's body into iron, except the lower part of his body, his waist, or his thighs. And that's how Bhima was able to defeat Duryodhana. With his mace, he broke his thighs. Not only that, but he also broke his spine. And then Gandhari, she questioned Bhima also, that you Pandavas are, personified virtue, morality. But why did you drink Dushasana's blood? Because he made this vow, to Draupadi. And then Bhima said, actually, I didn't let the blood pass my teeth. So he said, I wanted to keep my vows, but at the same time, And then Gandhari said, Rakshasa, they drink blood. So Bhima said, I didn't drink, So anyway. And so yeah, in war, not everybody loses. And during the riots between the Muslims and Hindus, Srila Prabhupada pointed out with this pile of dead bodies and, you know, this bloodshed, you couldn't tell who was Muslim or who was Hindu. So what is the use of war? But everyone is fighting with one another based on this false conception of my country, you know. Some student asked me yesterday, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "My family's from the Philippines." And they said, "Me? I'm from different galaxies." And I wanted to tell them, actually, you're right. You know, you've been wandering through different planets and universes, and you know, now you get this wonderful chance to read a book. I was speaking to a student yesterday, and he grew up in a Muslim family, but he said, "I don't agree with a lot of their teachings." And then he said, "Why not?" He said, it's just a personal thing, but I can tell there was maybe something more. So I told him, "What do you think about karma and reincarnation?" And he said, "I always thought about that." And I said, "Today's your lucky day." I gave him a coming back. And he said, "This is a perfect size book. I'm not a big reader. I don't have time, but this little book, and specifically the subject of karma and reincarnation." And when he was giving me a donation, he gave me a silver coin. And then he even dropped it. He said, you hear the difference? You know, silver and iron, or whatever steel it is. So he appreciated the books. And then I told him, "Do you know how to free the world from war and racism?" And then he said, "No." So I showed him a verse from the Bhagavad-gītā. And then he said, "You know, I always heard about this book, the Bhagavad-gītā, but I never got a chance to actually read it or possess it." I told him, "It's also it's a good day to get this book also." I told him, we're having a limited time offer, you know. We're just accepting donations. So he gave another donation. And then when I told him how each soul is a part and parcels of God, and in the eyes of God we're all of His children. And he said, "That's actually a very profound knowledge." He said, "I've never heard of this before." And like what Mukundacharna Prabhu was saying, that our philosophy is actually not illogical, but it's foreign to people. People have not heard of this knowledge. Okay, so much time. So the behavior of a devotee in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya-lila, Srila Sanatana Goswami, he was speaking to Haridas Thakur. And he said, "Some behave very well, but do not preach the cult of Krishna consciousness, whereas others preach, but do not behave properly." So we should preach nicely, and we should also behave properly. This is this is how a devotee should act in this world. And when people have questions, like Mukundacharna Prabhu says, we have to meet them on their level. We can't just give them straight philosophy. You know, they won't accept it, they'll reject it, and they won't come back, you know. So we have to meet where they're at. So we preach nicely, and also we behave properly. And then Srila Sanatana Goswami said, he was telling Haridas Thakur, "You simultaneously perform both duties in relation to the holy name by your personal behavior and by your preaching." And Prahlad Maharaj, he says, "Nate vidu swartha gatim hi Vishnu." That people, they don't know what the goal of life is. They think the goal of life is something material. That's why the devotees, we go out and we distribute books, we preach, we do prasadam distribution, and so on. Damn, time is fast. So I'll just end with some. There was this student yesterday. She came to my table and she said, "I got books from you before at Balboa Park, but I don't have this book. Somehow or other I lost it." And she pointed at the Science of Self-Realization. And she said, "I read half of the book and I was very, very moved by it." And she said, "I think if everyone read these books," and she said, "if people started chanting Hare Krishna, the world would be a better place." And then she said, "Thank you guys for coming out here." And then she said, "You know, I'm not like the other students here that just want to party, but I actually come here to learn." You know, and she was very grateful that the devotees go out. And I'm sure those that goes out on book distribution, we experience these sweet interactions with people all the time. And Yamunapati Prabhu, you know what, he calls me every other day, and we just catch up on things. And he's full of wonderful stories, Sankirtan stories, people that he met, people that got books, and just encouraging like that. Okay, thank you for your time and attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Sri Ramanujacharya. Any questions? Reflect. As I'm reading, sorry, Vijay Prabhu, Vijay Krishna. I take notes, and it said quesadilla. I said quesadilla, but I meant to write questions, So I was a little confused, like quesadillas. So, I'm sorry, Vijay Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, I have a question.
Please.
Yes, in the translation, I see that for renunciants and great sages to see Krishna, they go through austerities, which I personally find as not different from very difficult to practice, like seeing all living beings equally, it's not easy. Being friendly to everyone is not easy. And practicing in the forest, the vows of brahmacharya, vanaprastha, and sannyasa without flaw is also not an easy thing to do. But in Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna chants to Arjuna that the process of Krishna consciousness is joyfully performed. So based on this, my exact question is, how do you harmonize these difficult austerities with the process of Krishna consciousness to be joyfully performed?
Okay. Well, I'm not qualified to answer your questions because I'm among wonderful, great senior devotees, but I'll try to answer. Reading Srila Prabhupada's books, they're so important. And with everything that comes, with anything that has value, it takes practice, Srila Prabhupada says that the practice is easy, but the application is difficult, So I think reading Srila Prabhupada's books will help you to realize this. And not only that, but to keep associating with devotees, also to keep listening to lectures. When people criticize or complain about, austerity and how difficult Krishna consciousness is, it always reminds me of a time when my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhadrinarayan Swami, and His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami, they were, Maharaj Bhadrinarayan Swami came to Jayadvaita Swami, and he was telling him, it's so difficult being a devotee. You have to wake up, you have to practice the 4 regulative principles, you have to chant 16, he went on and on. And then Jayadvaita Swami said, you're right, it is difficult. But then Jayadvaita Swami said, what's more difficult than being a devotee? Being a non-devotee, And when you really understand this, Jayadvaita Swami is right, When we go out and distribute books, people are just lost, they look miserable, they're looking for shelter in all the wrong things, But they're devotees, and actually the regulative principles, I think there was a book, it says the regulative principles of freedom. Okay, yeah. So, and also Srila Prabhupada said brahmacharya, a householder, grihastha, who's married, but his purpose is procreation and raising Krishna conscious children, is actually also a brahmachari. And I've heard there was a famous couple, they were married, but they never engaged in sexual activities, actually. I heard this a long time ago, So we can practice these. Like what Balaram Prabhu said to me when I first started coming, if I can do it, you can do it. Where were we in our in our journey before becoming devotees, we had no idea that eating meat was wrong. We had no idea that drinking was wrong. We had no idea that illicit sex was wrong. Just like that mantra, I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch light of knowledge. So the devotees, and also, like it says here, take shelter of a devotee in order to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to say, but if anyone would like to add to it, contribute to it.
Well, just on that joyfully performed, there's no doubt that when you first come to Krishna consciousness, there are challenges, and the challenges go on all the time, but the challenge is just to get up early, take a cold shower. Is that still a thing? I mean, I don't know. And just to have to live in such a way that you may not have as much privacy you used to have, and you have no freedom to just kick back all day and just watch TV and then go get a beer. You don't have that. So in that sense, it can be challenging. But if you're able to accept those and go through the austerity, then you feel, and you are practicing the chanting and all of the wonderful things that give you bliss. Then you can feel that the very processes that are routine are giving you much more happiness. The chanting, the association, the deities, the prasadam, and so you get to the point where it really is, very joyfully performed, as opposed to going off to the Himalayas alone and getting, and sitting in then for the 6th chapter. So that's one thing I would say. But what I wanted to do, and then time I know is late, is to share just a short story about Ramanujacharya that you didn't mention. I have a book, by the way, that's really wonderful, The Life of Ramanujacharya, if someone's interested in really reading that. I thought I had lost it, and I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it on Amazon or anything, and it showed up in my bookshelf. So, but one story that sticks out about Ramanuja, he became, as is described in this little blurb that you read, the little summary, that he was a staunch fighter against the Mayavadis, just like Madhvacharya, and they were fighting that's still going on. Lord Chaitanya did, Prabhupada's doing. And so at one point, some of them, and I think these were Shaivites, because I think that I recall that, they had the idea that they were going to kill him. Just like they had a conspiracy to kill Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, said, So he was preaching somewhere, and his disciples found out about it. So one of the famous disciples, and you can tell me, this was named Kṛṣṇa. So he said, "Okay, Maharaj, I'm going to dress up as you, because they're trying to get you." So what they did, they came, they thought that he was Ramanuja, and they blinded him, right? Yeah, they blinded him. So it was pretty horrible, But he stayed with Ramanujacharya, and he would follow. So I don't know. It was years later that Ramanuja told him, "You go to the deity now." I forget what city they were in, and you pray to the deity that I lost something, before. And my spiritual master came to tell me to pray for it, So what I remember is that it didn't work the first time, and he told him to go back again. And he was embarrassed to ask the deity for that. So Ramanuja said, no, you go and pray. So he did, and his sight was returned. It was Ramanuja's potency, right? But it was just to show that the devotion and dedication that he had for his spiritual master and kind of people he was attracting. A great story.
Thank you so much. And also Srila Prabhupada says we're in a disease state right now. And process of Krishna consciousness is curing that disease. Is that okay, Vijay Krishna Prabhu?
Yes, beyond okay, both answers, your answer and the answer of Dravida Prabhu reminded me, if I may, of the following shlok in Bhagavad-gītā. Quote, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also heard in Europe, they thought taking or bathing was bad. So the devotees, we first thing is we take shower in the morning, we stay clean before we come to the temple room. Okay. Thank you for your time and attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.